listening to the Super Best Friendcast this week, and they got a question that was like, "Have you ever played a video game that like changed who you were mentally or spiritually?" And Wooly seemed to really get hung up on this fucking question because they sat on for a long time. And the way he got hung up, I knew I had to like, okay, fucking like start recording this because I was talking to myself in response to what they were talking about. So I was like, okay, I have things to say here, obviously. And his answer to that question was like, no, like, like I'm exaggerating and being mean, but he was like, you don't like experience change. He got really hung up on the spiritual thing. I guess like that was because he was interpreting this fucking question as like, have you ever played a game that gave you a religious experience? I guess, and he's like, no, I've never played a game that gave me a spiritual change. Like it's just, it, he started out being kind of snobby in a way that I think he realized because he started backpedaling on it. He was like, I think games can be artistic experiences, but we're not there yet. That's where he started out, but he backpedaled on it. And he backpedaled and he was like, okay, I'm pulling this back to all art. Like all art, including movies and books and all that shit. Because like he realized he was like kind of like diminishing games as an artistic medium, so he pulled it back. But he started out being like, "No, I never. Video games don't change who you are," and they were all being like all being cynical 30-year-olds on there, and I was like, man, I miss Liam because he would be there, and like I feel like if Liam was there during that question, he'd been like, yeah, near. Probably, right? Or something like some obscure, or maybe not so much obscure game where he'd be like, yeah, I played that when I was like 12, and then I was like, whoa. But like, their reaction to this question just really made me feel sad in a way. We were like, Jesus Christ, you guys, are you okay? Like, do you need a hug? You're fucking so depressing. Like, how sad are you? I'm sunburned. I was riding my scooter. Like, how fucking sad? Like, what happened to you in your life where you're like, I have never experienced a piece of art that affected me in a mentally or emotionally, like, psychological development kind of way? Like, I get, like, I'll just try, like, okay, not spiritual. Like, whatever your weird fucking hang up on the term spiritual is, fine. Like, okay, you didn't have a game that gave you a religious experience. But I'm listening to them go on and on about this, and I'm like, I thought of one immediately. Like, immediately I heard the question, I was like, yeah, Pokemon. I played Pokemon when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I don't know what the fucking acceptable age for learning how to read is, but at the time, I didn't know how to read. So I played Pokemon, not knowing how to read, looking at like sticks and circles. And I remember very vividly my mom would read over my shoulder for me to help me progress through the game. And she was encouraging me, like approving of it because it's reading. It's a lot of reading in that like that game is like a fucking text-based RPG basically. And I learned how to read by playing Pokemon. I didn't learn how to read from reading books and shit. I didn't get into Harry Potter until way later, but I didn't devour books and learn how to read from that. I played Pokemon and I acquired an awareness and understanding of the English written language. That's a mental change. How the fuck do you say like I've never played a game? And then he pulled it out even further to say I've never experienced any art. Period. Movies, books, anything where I was one person and then I experienced that art and then I was another person. That's ludicrous to say that. Like that says to me you're not playing enough video games. or at least like you didn't have video games in your developmental years, I guess. Or that's just so bizarre to me that their reaction to that is a I can't think of any game I've played that has changed me mentally or spiritually. A, that would be your action at all, or then B, that they go on and on about it for like 10 minutes. That's like no, and furthermore, games can't be of like it just reminded me of how Roger Ebert said not only are games not art, they can't be art. Willie was going like, not only has that never happened to me, it physically cannot happen. It's incapable. No one can have a spiritual or mental change from experiencing art. I'm like, I know people in my life who I've known and have told me this that Kingdom Hearts, playing that game, changed and saved their life. Like, they were, as teenagers, because, like, the relative age here, they suffered from clinical depression and wanted to kill themselves. And then they played Kingdom Hearts when they were 12, 13 years old and suffering from that mental state, and that changed their life playing that game. Like, I'm like, it's not like they played Kingdom Hearts and experienced this story that was like a message of friendship and light, always persevering through the darkness and always holding on to hope. And it's not like, oh, immediately they got over their depression. Like, that doesn't happen. But it inspired a change in them. It gave them hope. And they sought help. And, like, they got professional help. And they attribute their continued existence, the fact that they're alive right now, to Kingdom Hearts. To like, being in that mental state in those years where like they just felt hopeless and alone, and they like the weight was too much and there was no one they could go to for help. It felt like they couldn't like go to their parents or teachers or even their friends or anyone to be like, this is how I'm feeling, and was too much for them, and they were in a state where they were having suicidal thoughts, and they played Kingdom Hearts, and it showed them this new like idea landscape that they had never been aware of or considered previously, and it saved their life. And that's like a pretty excessive extreme example. And you might even say like that's hyperbolic, or you might say like, oh, that like Kingdom Hearts isn't the game that's changed them, they sought help and they did. But that was the catalyst. And I think of like, there are games that are like imparting a philosophical worldview that I was already aware of and already agreed with. So I play and I'm like, yeah, I knew that. But, and like that happens to me a lot now that I'm like more wholly formed as a person, obviously. And I'm playing these games, I'm like, yeah, I knew that. Or I'll play a game and it's something else. And I'm like, I was aware of that philosophical concept, but I don't agree with it. And I might interpret it in a different way that's like biased to my own predisposed beliefs already. But, pull back the curtain a few years, like back to when I was a teenager, back to when I was like 15, 16 years old and I played Persona 4, and I might be like, I might like to think that I already knew the things that that game was talking about. And I like my feelings were just being validated, but I don't know. I don't remember specifically the moment that it cognitized in my brain. It could very well be that I played Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2 back when it came out, back when I was still a teenager, and played this game that was all about like you like these aspects of your personality that you want to be in denial about, that you're ashamed of and feel guilty about. You don't have to repress them and be like, I need to work to get over this and change who I am to be happy to fit with other people's views of me. You can just accept that, yes, this thing that you don't like thinking about of yourself is part of who you are. And if you want to be happy, you have to accept it. And you don't have to like change who you are as a person to get rid of those things. You just need like develop self-awareness, and that will bring you peace. And you'll be able to like, what comes afterwards will come afterwards. And like it could very well be that Persona 4 was the game that first introduced that to me and like gave me that knowledge and like thoughtscape. I don't know how you want to describe it. And with video games, and then he pulls it back to all art in general. You What happened to you, man? What happened? Do you need it? Like, are you okay? What happened in your life that this is the person you are now, saying no art you have ever experienced in your life has ever had a, like, obviously it's not like you play a game and, oh, I'm a totally different person now. I have like a revelaton snap, I have come online. No, obvious, like nothing is that extreme. You guys are like reading this question as if like playing a video game. Oh, I'm a different human being now. No, it's you experience a new idea from a video game, and that is the catalyst for your life going down a different road than it would have gone anyway. How can you say there's no game you've ever played in your entire life that's ever done that? Like, I'll be willing to say the benefit of the doubt and say, like, that was so intrinsic to who you are, those thoughts and ideas that you hold dear to yourself now that uh, inform your personality and the way you externalize yourself on the world are so intrinsic to you that you can't cognitize a time in your life where it wasn't there. I relate to that. It's kind of hard to like draw the fucking like development of your brain back to previous states of existence that it was before what it is now, and pinpoint that exact moment that you were exposed to something that changed it or set it on the course to be changed. But the idea of saying like no art ever has done that to me is ludicrous to the point of insanity to me. I remember when my ex-girlfriend broke up with me, and I was obviously not in a good place at that point, because that's a whole other story. But that like the whole story of what that relationship was and the way I feel about it now compared to the way I felt about it then is a whole other thing. But at the time, I wasn't okay. That was not an amicable parting to me, and I wasn't like kind of all mixed up inside because because like I was a teenager. We were going out for 3 years. There was a lot of oh forever and ever kind of talk, and it's easy to look back on it now and be like, teenagers. But at the time, I was like, fucking, what am I going to do with my life now? I planned out my whole life like, it's going to be me and this person, and this is what we're going to do together. Oh, that person's gone. And like, this might sound silly, but like, I was kind of still reeling from it emotionally, and I went and saw the movie Scott Pilgrim with my little brother. And like, whatever you think the message of that movie is, the message I took away from it like was like, don't worry about it. That was kind of the message I got. Like, because the idea of that movie, it's this one line in particular I remember where Ramona Flowers was like, "You're what I need right now." Like forever and ever, like till the end of time. That's not like maybe, but maybe not. Like that's not the person I am that I need to think about that right now. Right now, you being with you is what makes me happy. And that message was exactly what I needed to hear at that point in my life, and it like kind of turned me around. Not like like again, no one immediately goes, snap, I'm a different person now. But I was exposed to an idea that I was not aware of previously, and it changed the way I look at the world. At the time for the better, later on a little bit for the worse, because I was still holding on to a little bit like, right now this is good for me, forever and ever, like I don't know about that, but right now this is what's making me happy. And it was kind of a cocoon state from which I emerged as a beautiful butterfly. No. Um and that, like, I remember, like, a lot of people complained about that movie, like, oh, he should have ended up with knives at the end. You're looking at it in terms of a romantic happily ever after, and then they lived together happily ever. That's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is like they don't know. They don't know what's going on with their life, where they're going to end up, and worrying about it is going to cause you turmoil. Worrying about, like, oh, is it going to be you and me, this person for the rest of our lives forever and ever? That's going to fuck you up. Sometimes you have to be like, nah, just, I don't, I'm living right now. Right now, I'm happy where I am, and I don't care about what happens tomorrow. I don't care what our future is together. All I need to do is survive through where I'm at right now, and I don't need to worry about everything else. And that was a message I needed to hear at the time, and it definitely stuck with me and definitely affected who I was. And even like I've definitely feel like I've changed from who that person was. I was the person I was when I was with my ex girlfriend. I was in a state of emotional turmoil when she broke up with me. I watched Scott Pilgrim, and that helped me become the person that I was when I met the person I'm with now. And then through my experiences there, an interpersonal experience, not through art, but in, through that life experience, I've changed as a person again. And I don't see the interpersonal, like, relationship with a person changing me experience as somehow more real than the I was exposed to this art and that changed me as a person as well. Like, I was not the same person after that movie that I was before. And I'm not the same person now as who I was after that movie. Everything you experience in life changes you. I'm going to become a different person tomorrow. And, like, who knows what it'll be? Persona 5 comes out tomorrow. It could be that. That could be the thing that changed. That could be the catalyst to give me an. I highly doubt it, because I'm at the point where I pretty much know all of the things I'm capable of knowing right now. Give me 5 years, and, like, the limit will probably expand. Like, it's like when you're playing StarCraft and it's like you can have 28 units, build more supply depots if you want to make more units. I am capped out on my upper limit of world knowledge. Give me a couple years before I can increase the cap and then devour more information that I wasn't previously aware of. But you never know. I might play Persona 5 and be like, "Oh shit. I I had a thought. I never thought that before." That's what the question meant. The question was, like, have you ever played a game and that, like, turned, like, that set the course of your life? The answer is yes. I have. And so has everyone. And so have Wooly and fucking Pat and fucking Plague. I don't know about Plague Grapes. I think like he might have had sex with an animal, and that changed the course of life for him. But you've definitely been exposed to fucking art that changed the way you look at the world. And if you think you haven't, your head is up your ass. The end.